So finally, my home birth video. If I were to wait for the perfect hair day, perfect skin day, baby asleep, then it's never gonna happen. So here is my home birth story. If you're new here, my name is Dawn. I make videos on natural living as much as possible. I go toxic free, real food, and my life in Switzerland. Baby was born in this room over there. If you've seen my baby prepping series, then you would have seen the birth pool over there. I wasn't sure if I was gonna use the birth pool, but we had that option. I've written everything down weeks ago to post on my Instagram, so if you prefer reading, then go read it. I think I write better than I talk on camera. You know, you always read a book and then you watch the movie and you realize, the book is much better. So that's probably it with this home birth story. So I think I started having Braxton Hicks about 35 weeks or so. I get this tightening feeling in my whole belly, but there's no pain in the day. But I remember in the night, sometimes I get one, and the maximum I get is like 2 period-like cramps and tightening. And then they just fade away, and very often I just fall back asleep either during or like immediately after the crampy feeling went away. So usually I try not to look at my phone with the blue light in the middle of the night because it interrupts my sleep. So I try to not look at the clock on my phone. Bless you. Are you cold? Yes. So on this night, it was, I don't know, I heard the bell. We have this church bell or this clock that strikes every quarterly. So the first quarter would be like ding, second quarter ding ding, third ding ding ding, and then when it's the hour, it's like it goes 4 times, and then it goes, if it's 1 o'clock, it goes one more ding. Otherwise, if it's 2 o'clock, it goes ding ding. Okay, you get the idea. So on this night, I heard it chime 3 times, ding, ding, ding. So it's like 45, but I don't know what 45. So I was just lying down, feeling these cramps. After the second cramp, I had the third cramp. So this is already abnormal, and they came quite consistently. And then suddenly I heard ding 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 4 times, and then ding. So it was 1 o'clock. So I knew my contractions started at 12:45. And then I tried to go back to sleep and I couldn't. So I felt like, maybe this could be it. Then by 1:45, when I heard 3 times again, I already had 8 contractions. So that's pretty consistent, I think. So I still can't sleep, but I didn't want to wake Danny. He's in the other room because we've been sleeping apart because of him snoring. And when I get woken while with the huge belly, I get woken up and then I will keep moving. I can't find a good position, and then it's just a vicious cycle. I can't sleep, he can't sleep, I can't sleep, he can't sleep. And then if he snores when I just falls asleep, then it's disastrous. So he sleeps in the other room, and I didn't want to wake him up because I'm not so sure, and I know that he has been looking forward for baby to come, and if I tell him, he would be like so excited and cannot sleep. So I just continued lying down, and then after that I still had regular contractions. And then I messaged my sisters. The good thing about them living in another time zone is like I can message them in the middle of the night and I get an answer. So I was asking them if they think it is the day, and then they were like, maybe, but it took them quite long. My second sister had like 32 hours of labor, and my eldest, I think 15, or was it 17? By 2:45, I already had another 10 contractions. So in total, it's like 18, and they last about 45 seconds to a minute. So I remembered that day was a Thursday, and I remembered he wanted baby to come after Thursday because that's his last busy day of the month. We know that baby's coming, so he kind of took it easier Friday onwards. So he was saying, if baby comes on Friday, that would be good. So that was Thursday, and he was supposed to be at work that morning. And then when I told him it could be the day, he was like, do you think I could go to work and then come back for it? I'm like, I don't know, baby comes when baby comes. I don't know. I said, go back to sleep, get some rest. And he was like, he tried, I think, and then he came back to me and was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna cut my hair and take a shower. In my mind at the time, I'm like, why cut your hair? I mean, like, of all things, why must you cut your hair? But now he told me that it's because he wouldn't know when's his next time he can cut his hair, because he cut his hair himself. So he came to bed afterwards, and then we were just sitting down. Should we call the midwife? It was 3 a.m. and I felt like, wow, if I call the midwife at 3 and it's not it, a bit not nice, right? I mean, it's her job, but I just don't feel good waking her up if it's not it, if I'm not very confident. So we dilly-dally, and then we waited until 4, and my contractions were still coming constantly. So we called her at 4, and then Danny was the one who called her because, well, when I'm in a contraction, I can't think and speak in German. So Danny called, and then she was asking, oh, does she want me to come? Do I want her to come? I'm like, I don't know. We are just calling to give you advance notice that I might be in labor. So then she said she'll take a shower and come over to have a look. So my midwife arrived about 5 a.m. and then she came in, hugged, and came straight to the room, and then she said like, oh, may I check you? So she checked my cervix or whatever, and then she said, oh, you are this big dilated. I don't know why she didn't tell me the exact centimeter. Maybe because this one is probably like 2. It sounds very small, so maybe psychologically showing me looks bigger than it sounds, so it's more encouraging. I don't know. Up till this point, I'm just trying to relax as much as possible. So I kind of incorporated the Bradley method. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Basically, it's just trying to relax and let your body do its thing, because you know, people in coma can give birth as well. So that is the concept, and for me, I like that concept. So it's basically like Shavasana, corpse pose on your side. But this method, right, they have the shoulder on the side. The shoulder is like your hand, your left arm or your right arm, whichever side you're on, is behind, because they say if you put it in front, it's gonna be like all numb. But for me, it's just so uncomfortable doing that. So I had it in front, just lying on my side and trying to relax as much as possible. And up till this point, it was very manageable. I didn't look at my phone at all throughout this birth, so I don't really know the time and all that minute details. Once the midwife came, the contractions came stronger. So I was still lying on my side trying to relax, but I noticed that as the contractions peak, my body will kind of like, my legs will kind of shake, and I kind of naturally like, oh, like that. By this point, I'm having really strong contractions, and they have been filling the birth pool. Hey sweetheart, are you okay? So they have been filling the birth pool, and Danny was doing a lot of the work, which normally I think the midwife does. So he has been walking back and forth and carrying this hot water and pouring into the pool. So I'm basically left alone on the bed, and my midwife was sitting at the edge, at the end of the bed. I know she's there, but I'm like just in my own world. And then the birth pool was ready, and the midwife asked me, would you like to get in? I'm like, I'm not really sure. I don't know if I like the feel of water at that moment. So, my love, you okay? Is it time to eat? Hey sweetheart. Mama Carrie? Mama's telling a story. Yeah, so they say, yeah, try to get inside. So I'm like, I had this button up shirt. I'm like, without clothes? Then my wife say, yeah, everything off. And I'm like, okay, everything off. And then Danny helped me into the water. And then immediately when I went in the water, I went on my knees and then like resting on the edge of the pool. But prior to this, every time I see people laboring on their knees, I'm like, oh, that's so uncomfortable. Like, why would they want to be in that position? But I just naturally went into that position. And then Danny was in front of me squatting, half squat, he can't really squat, holding my hands. And then I think the midwife saw how much of a hard time he was having, so she gave him a really cute stool. I don't remember what color, but I remember thinking, oh, it's such a cute stool. So he sat on that, which is like supported squat, and he was holding my hands. When the contraction came strong, I noticed, you know, when you're tense, your hands go clenching. So I try to consciously relax even on all fours, not really all fours, on my knees, and then the hands holding Danny's hands. When I notice me squeezing him, then I consciously try to relax my hands, because when you tense up one part of your body, the other parts of your body tend to tense up. So I still keep trying to relax, breathing. I'm quite a noisy laborer. Like, I was making sounds, so as I inhale and then exhale. So I don't know when again my midwife said, oh, may I check you? So she checked me and said, okay, you're 8 cm dilated and 100% effaced. I mean, that's what I understood. I don't know what's effaced in German, but she said it's ready. Yeah, so my contractions were getting stronger and stronger, and then at some point my midwife asked me, do you feel like pushing? Then I'm like, I don't know. I mean, in my heart I'm like, I don't know. It's my first time giving birth. I don't know how's the pushing feeling. I thought that your body pushes naturally, like it will come whether I want it or not. So I think I said, maybe. I do feel like I want to take a dump though, but I didn't say it. And then she said, okay, so work with your body. When you exhale, she said, breathe downwards. So go like inhale and then like push it down. So that's what I did. So I became even louder. Before that, I'm just trying to manage the contraction, but be very relaxed. So this is more active. So she's like, push down as you exhale. So bring the breath down. So that's what I did. Every exhale, I don't know why, how the neighbors continued sleeping and nobody called the police. So my contractions were getting stronger and stronger, and at one point I'm like, oh, is the baby coming? And then the midwife said, oh, why don't you feel it with your hands? She said you could feel the head if you feel it with your hands. So I felt it with my hands and I didn't feel the head. It's just like a bigger hole. I did feel like a bigger hole. And then the next contraction came and she said, oh, feel it again. And then I still didn't feel the head. So I'm like, where is the head? Like, why did you keep saying there's a head but there is no head? A few more contractions came and then she asked me to feel again. And then I felt like this smooth thing, like smooth and tight. It's this, the sac was coming out. It's not, my water hasn't broken. So the sac was coming out. And the contractions were really, really strong. So I think it came once or twice and then wow, I could feel myself sweating. It's getting so hot. I feel like I want to puke. And then the midwife went to get a wet cloth and told Danny to wipe my face with it, and he so clumsily wiped. He doesn't know how to wipe my face. I'm so uncomfortable, but it was nice and cooling. After that, the contractions were so strong, and then I still don't feel the head because the membrane or whatever you call it is blocking me from feeling the top of her head. I was kind of struggling by now, like, oh, why is the baby not coming yet? And then the midwife said, the midwife offered to break my water. Then I'm like, I don't really want it. And then when I was still struggling, and I'm like, oh, when is baby coming? Then she was like, oh, why don't you try to break the water the next round? Then I'm like, still, I don't really want it, because I've seen people giving birth with the bag intact, and it's so cool. The baby is still inside, like relaxed and all. So I had this ideal birth. If the water stays intact, the bag stays intact, I want it intact. But I didn't tell her or Danny. So then by the third time, contractions again, I couldn't break it. Then Danny said, the midwife offered, oh, if you cannot break it, maybe the next round I will break it for you, because baby is already there. It's just the sac blocking, sort of blocking, I guess, from baby coming out. But I've read somewhere that breaking water doesn't make your baby come faster, but that's probably before the baby is at the entrance of the vagina. On the next round, when I couldn't break it myself, she broke it for me, but she asked me to turn to lie on my back. It was so uncomfortable to move on my back. I hated to be on my back. It's so uncomfortable. So, and I hated to move. I like to be still, which is great for the Bradley method, because you are just like relaxing into one position. So I was on my knees. I was so reluctant to turn around. When she checked me, she wanted me to turn around as well. So that was no fun. If I remembered correctly, I don't really remember, but I remember going on the back, moving is no fun. And then after that, she broke my water. And then after a few more contractions, baby is still not really coming. Then she says, I was like from knee to one knee up and one knee down, like squatting. I was moving a little bit, but mostly very minimal movement. Hey sweetie. Very minimal movement. And so yeah, so at one point she's like, oh, let's help the birth progress by standing up and moving my legs up and down. So I'm like, oh, I don't want. But then Danny encouraged me, stand up, stand up. So he helped me and I stood up, because if you watch my baby series, you know that on my last few weeks, I had trouble lifting my left leg because of SPD, the symphysis pubis disorder, which is due to my hypermobility. So I know that lifting my left leg hurts my pelvis area. So, but he said, oh, just try. So okay, and then I lifted. Oh, they actually didn't hurt at that time. I don't know why. I was so reluctant to move. So after moving a few times, I was like, okay, I want to get back down. So I went back on my knees. Throughout this whole birth, the room was dark. I had the curtains drawn. We have some street lamps outside, so the curtains were drawn. This room was dark. The only lights were from outside, so they could see, like Danny and the midwife could see. So that was the only light. And at some point, I noticed that through the gaps of the window pane and the curtain, I saw that, oh, it's daylight outside. So I knew it's either 7-ish or 8-ish. So at this point, I remembered the midwife pouring water like down my neck. It was so nice. Down my back. And then after a while, Danny took over. I think he asked to take over, or she gave him. So he took over, and then pouring warm water down my back, because the top part of my shoulders are above water. So that was really nice. And then I was laboring, and at some point I felt my midwife's hands. Her hands are cold, touching my thighs. So I was like, Danny, I don't want her to touch me. And then she immediately backed off. Before this, contractions were strong, but I had like rest times. I had enough rest time to like catch my breath and relax again. But at some point, I think now labor is really progressing, so the contractions are getting closer and closer together. Baby, why are you fussing? My eyes were closed almost the entire labor because I'm more a feeler, I think. So I was closing my eyes, breathing. The way I focus is with my eyes closed. So that's why my eyes were closed. So at that time, I didn't want my midwife to touch me, but Danny was still touching me. He was like comforting me and things like that. And I'm perfectly comforted by his touch. But then at some point, it got so intense, I was like moved away from both of them. I was like facing this way more. At first, I was like that. Danny was right in front of me. And then I went to the side. I'm like, don't touch me. I don't want to be touched. And then it was getting so intense. I was like, ah! And then the contractions came so much closer together. And then I remember, at the end of my contraction, I go like, and then I felt the head came out. And then just like I had 1 second to breathe, and then I was like, again, and then you feel like the rest of the baby came out, but it felt very like that. I don't know how to say it, but if there is a sound effect, it's like the head came out, and then the rest of the body came out with the next 2 contractions. It was very close together, so it felt like 1 contraction. I would have liked to catch this little one by myself, or the husband to catch, but in the end I was so focused. I was just like, get out of me. I didn't say that, but that's my focus, like just get the baby out. So I was like, I didn't bother catching. I knew I could feel my midwife doing things at the back. And later I found out that she had the cord around her neck twice, so Danny went to help the midwife. He said that she was like trying to uncord the baby, and he went to help. You know, he goes rock climbing, right? So he's very handy with the ropes and things like that. So he just helped her untangle the cord. If you're wondering why I wasn't worried at all about cord being around her neck or the risk of having the cord around her neck, is because baby breathes through the cord. They do not breathe on their own until the cord has been cut or until they are lifted off the water. Then they contact with the air, their skin, then they will start breathing on their own. But as long as the cord is connected to the mother, the baby is still getting oxygen and all that good stuff. So I delayed cord clamping, and yeah, the baby was born. I was holding her. I couldn't really breastfeed because, I don't know, the breast was underwater and you cannot breastfeed the baby underwater. So I was lying there holding the baby. Apparently it's almost an hour, but it felt so short. At some point, the midwife came to check the cord. It was totally limp and white. I didn't get to see, you know, when they are like engorged and blood running through. It's really beautiful. I saw pictures on Instagram, like purple and curly cord, but mine was like a limp pig's intestine. Yeah. So I don't know who cut the cord. Danny must have cut the cord. I need to ask him. And then the cord was cut, and then it's time for the placenta to come out. So, but I didn't feel any contraction. I only felt a very mild one because I should have started breastfeeding. Then contractions would have started. So the placenta didn't come. I can't birth the placenta. Then the midwife said, stand up and then pull at it. I'm like, I read that you shouldn't pull at your placenta because it might make you bleed to death. So she asked me to pull, and I was like so scared to pull. And then I was telling her why I was scared, and she said, oh no, because yours, she could feel that it's already detached and it's like just sitting down there, needs to get out. And my cervix has closed, so it needs some pulling to get it out. So I was so reluctant, and in the end I'm like, I don't want to do it, you do it for me. So she pulled it out. So here's where it gets really interesting. Once I got out of the pool onto the bed, it's no mess at all because I birthed in the pool, no blood at all. We over prepared the bed and stuff. Oh no, here I want to say, actually I wanted to change my bed sheet when my labor starts, because that's how I see people do it. Like, they can get ready, they can put on makeup. That was not my plan, but I thought I would have some mood or time to do things. In the end, I'm like on my dirty bed sheet because I didn't have time to change. When the contraction started, all I wanted was just to like relax. That's probably why my birth was fast too, I think, because I'm like fully there, fully present for the birth, not doing other things or getting things done. So yeah, so anyway, I came out of the pool, I was on the bed. I don't know when. Danny took some pictures. Maybe I breastfed a little bit. I don't know why the first time she could latch quite easily. We'll talk about my breastfeeding journey in another video. It was tough. So anyway, I got out, and then the midwife checked me, and she mentioned something in German to Danny, that life and death is always very close together. So she said on that morning is her father's funeral that she hopes to attend, which is like in an hour from the time she was born. So she said she would like to go if it's okay with us. So Danny said yes, of course, it's her dad. So it's something that the family saw coming, and she thinks it's a good thing that the dad does not have to suffer anymore. But still, that's a big thing. She didn't mention a single thing when she arrived or when we called. So she went and left, and she came back in an hour to check me, and I had tears, 2 down, 3 down, 3 tears, 2 down, 1 up. And guess what? I had to get stitches without anesthesia. How do you say that? Like, without painkillers. She had just this gel thing, which I don't think worked. I have to say, I think the stitching was way more painful than the birth, but because it was short and quite quick, I didn't die. Baby girl, you've been so good. Thanks for your patience. We go stretch on the yoga mat. So that's how we welcome baby Thea at 38 weeks and 6 days. She was 3.2 kg and 50 centimeters. My labor was 7 hours and 55 minutes. We prayed for an 8-hour labor, so woohoo! You always get better than you prayed for, so pray well, my friends. And then yeah, so prior to her birth, all of us were thinking it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy. So when she was born, it's a girl. We were both shocked, and it took us quite a while to say she instead of he. So this is my home birth story. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you like videos like this, I'm all about natural living and being a recent mom. I will be talking a lot about motherhood, baby care, all these natural living things. Baby wanted to poo-poo and pee-pee, right? Not milk. Mama didn't know. Mama forgot. Gave you milk. And then no. You wanted to poo-poo and pee-pee. And then what happened? Mama ignored you, huh? Mama kept talking about the home birth. Huh? Yeah, thanks for letting Mama know. Next time, Mama will be more alert, okay? Yeah? Yes? Mama kiss? Yummy girl! Kiss, kiss, kiss! Nose rub? Ding, 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 ding. Nut head? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, what now? Shall we go do some yoga? Yeah? You like that? Follow mama? Do some yoga? Ding ding ding. Ding ding ding. If you want exercises with baby yoga stuff and also postpartum strengthening and flexibility, do check out my Instagram. I'm gonna post more there for self-care, baby care, as well as some tips. Of course, I'll also make videos, but they take longer to edit, so if you want quick information and sharing, that would be Instagram.